And some possible extension structures, offers. Long term, obviously, could be like $500 million. We know Scott Boras wants that to be the biggest contract in baseball history. Could be, I would think 14 years, 500 million. Maybe that's an offer there, just rounding the number to 500 million. 14 years, I put out that number just because the AAV would be $35.7 million a year, which would be more than Mike Trout's 35.5 AAV. And I know that doesn't seem like much, but with Scott Boras, obviously with that Juan Soto $440 million extension offer the Nationals gave him, they saw the AAV and it was nowhere near the top guys in baseball. And so I think the Padres would have to eclipse and get in front of or higher than Mike Trout's AAV with his $426.5 million contract, his $35.5 million AAV, get higher than that for Soto to stay. So 14 years, $500 million. I mean, that's obviously a big extension. And that's, more than $1 billion that you'd be giving to three players, investing in three players, Tatis, Manny, and Soto. Those are three very, very great players, but that's a lot of money for three players. A short-term offer, I think the Padres could offer both, to be honest. Or they could offer a shorter long-term contract, if that makes sense. Makes sense. I said stents. If that makes sense, more like 10 years or something like that, 400 million, $40 million a year if they want to go that route. Or they could go short-term, really high AAV, even higher than $40 million a year. We know Max Scherzer got $43.3 million a year with his Mets contract. And Soto's former teammates, and he and Boras probably think, hey, Juan Soto probably thinks, I'm Juan Soto, I'm a position player, I'm the best hitter in baseball, I play every day, I play in the field, I don't play just every 5 days. You need to pay me AAV. That AAV needs to be higher than a guy that pitches every 5 days, right? And so if the Padres need to obey to that, maybe it's much shorter extension, and they have him for 5 years, 2 years after this season. And then when he hits free agency or before he hits free agency, whatever, 3-year extension worth $135 million a year. And that would be $45 million a year, the AAV. That would be the AAV. 3 years, $135 million total. Sorry if I said 135 a year. My bad. 135 million total over 3 years, $45 million each year, which would be higher than Max Scherzer's $43.3 million average annual values in his contract with the Mets. And that would allow Soto to take another shot at free agency when he's 28. And that could be a win for him too. He could actually be getting more money in total. You get the 135 million, and then let's say he goes out and gets, I don't know, what would that be? 350 million, another $350 million contract, whatever that would be. And we know that these free agent contracts, by that time, when he's done with that 3-year short-term contract extension, if that's what happens or whatever, again, I'm just throwing this out there. I have no sources or anything. I'm not trying to act like I know anything. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Once that 3 years is done, prices, free agent contracts is probably going to inflate a lot. I mean, Corey Seager got, 300 something million this year, this past offseason in a contract? Corey Seager, Garrett Cole got $324 million as a starting pitcher, so, the prices per year is probably going to be a lot higher than what it's going to be right now. So long term, maybe it's something like 14 years, 500 million, or shorter term. I know the Dodgers tried that with Bryce Harper, giving him short term, really high AAV. He declined it and went with the Phillies' $330 million offer. But Soto, maybe, if he wants maybe to try to maximize his free agency, get 3 years, higher AAV than Scherzer, and then go back out there when he's like 28 years old and see how that goes. Those are just some possible extension offers that I'm just throwing out there.